like, oh, they can't be talked about or discussed with these guys is because this guy won 1 ring or won 2 rings or won, like, it's just weird to me. It's like saying Peyton Manning can't be in the same room with Brady or Mahomes because he only has 1 ring. Barry Bonds never won a World Series. So. You can't sit here and tell me that he's not the greatest baseball player to ever touch a bat.
Okay, so very interesting, obviously, and a part of the sports conversation that has been going on certainly as long as I've been here, which goes back to the late 90s. To clean up just one quick thing he said there, Peyton Manning won 2 Super Bowls, the one at the very end, but that's not really the most important part, of course. Winman, let's start with you. As you hear LeBron James, someone that you've been covering since he was a teenager, in that conversation, what's your reaction?
I happen to agree with him. And right now, I'm at the end of a 2-month run where I've been on the front line in the playoffs. And I know what it takes to win an NBA championship because I've watched team after team after team over the last 20 years, talking to players, even just in the last couple of days, about how exhausting it is. And it's why I never believe in ever, under any circumstances, pulling down or denigrating a champion by attaching an asterisk or something. But I will just say, as the only other thing, LeBron contributed to this with his movement in his career to join super teams and his infamous comments, not 5, not 6, not 7. In that situation, he sort of set a standard to change the conversation.
Yeah, it is fascinating that it is LeBron James making these statements, and I can't pretend, I want everyone to chime in on this because this applies in all sports across the board. I can't pretend that I know what it's like to have my every move dissected the way he does. We all get some of that. But LeBron James, literally everything he's done, every decision, both the big ones and all the others, are dissected constantly. So I don't know what that's like, and I don't know what it is he hears on a day-to-day basis. But let's just dive into that. Is it a reasonable way to frame players' careers and to judge athletes? PK, I want to start with you. As of last night, Connor McDavid continues to be without a ring. People will tell me, people who know, I don't pretend to know nearly as much about hockey as most people who follow it ardently, will tell me he's as good as any player that ever lived. Is it reasonable to hold against him the fact that he doesn't have a cup and the Gretzkys and all the other guys at the very top of the list do?
Well, for me, I don't think there's any point in playing sports if it's not about winning a championship. You play to win. I dreamt about winning a Stanley Cup. Even though I didn't get one, my dream was to win a cup. It wasn't to drive around in an Escalade. It wasn't to wear nice tailored suits. It wasn't to have the nicest watch. It wasn't to score a bunch of points. It was to win a championship. Now, whether you win one or not, we know it doesn't always happen. But to consider yourself the greatest, to me, you got to win a championship. And it doesn't matter what sport you're in. Some sports, it's more difficult than others. But we can't sit here and say that, oh, I want to be the greatest even though I didn't win. No. As hockey players in our sport, it's all about winning. Nothing's more important. Listen, last night I sat there and had to watch guys win the cup. I can't stand watching guys hoist that thing because all of us want to do it. But not everybody can. So you got to respect the game. The game, no one is bigger than the game in hockey. No one is bigger than that trophy. Nothing matters more than that trophy. That's in our sport. I can't speak to everything else. In our sport, nothing's more important.
I get it, but the question is it a reasonable way to judge the greatness of a player?
No,
because there's a difference between saying the championship is the most important thing and the championship is the only thing that matters. That is the problem, right? That's what LeBron James is talking about, is the perception that all that matters is the championship, like that there's no other way of accomplishing greatness. And I think that's, when I covered the Yankees, the Joe Torre, Derek Jeter Yankees, every year in spring training, you'd ask Jeter, what do you think of last season, the year you had last year? Well, did we win the World Series? No, then it wasn't a good year. And I used to think, what a terrible way to live. Like it was like you play for 6 months. You had 2 months of spring training, a 6-month season, a month of playoffs, and you come up short. You lose Game 7 of the World Series. You had a great year, right? But that drove him. I understand that.
But that's
that makes sense,
right? But that's it right there, guys. That's what team sports is about. It's the psychotic drive to win a championship, and nothing else really matters. And look, if we're talking about Roger Federer and Tiger Woods, those individual sports, like that's one thing. But in a team sport, like greatness is about impacting others. So I can tell you I've been to 3 championship games and fallen short. And to this day, like, I can tell you the exact moment I knew we were going to lose and how much it hurt to this day, like, to what PK's saying. Like, that's what you sign up for, like, to win championships.
Understood.
And
But let's try and stay where I get what you're saying. What you're saying is every person in sports feels that way. But the question is, LeBron is saying, Charles Barkley, Allen Iverson, Steve Nash, Barry Bonds, are they not great because they didn't win the whole thing? What's the answer to that?
No, look, they are great despite not winning the whole thing. Okay, look, and it's 2 different conversations really that we're having here. And the one I can draw the parallel to is this. Is anybody going to sit here and tell me in their right mind that Barry Sanders is not one of the greatest athletes to ever walk the face of this
100%.
earth, regardless of just being a football player?
Right.
He came close. I mean, they came close to maybe, advancing through the playoffs.
Not that close.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But my point
you're
being,
right.
But my point being, you wouldn't have a discussion about great players in the NFL without including Barry Sanders. But this is a different discussion. This is a very, when you're talking about winning, that's a different kind of discussion, right? And that's where the conversation always kind of gets a little bit sideways when we talk about Tom Brady, when we're referencing guys like Dan Marino, when we're referencing, guys like a Joe Burrow, or even, like right now, a guy like Lamar Jackson, who hasn't won a championship, but who's one of the most talented players ever to play a position. It's 2 totally different conversations.
I get it. And go ahead, Dan.
The championship, so much goes into it. Is Tom Brady that much better because Russell Wilson threw an interception on a 1-yard line in the Super Bowl? Brady wasn't even on the field. That's a Brady ring. Right? If that pass is completed or if they score some other way, Brady has 6 championships, not 7. Like that, and I get that's an extreme example, Brady.
Yep.
But the point is, you can do everything. It can be the defining aspect of your life. I need to win a championship. I do everything right. And then the ball or the puck bounces the wrong way, and all of a sudden you don't. And that doesn't make you any less of a player.
You just
it doesn't.
You just gave the description of why it's so precious when you do win it.
Yes.
Like what Wendy said, like Wendy's seeing these guys.
Special.
Right, and it's really hard to achieve.
But let's just, to put it back into what LeBron said, he almost framed it himself. Was Charles Barkley an all-time great player?
Yeah.
Was Karl Malone an all-time great player?
Yes.
Was Patrick Ewing great player?
Yes.
Was Michael Jordan better? Why?
Well, because
he beat them every damn year. That's why. Because he won the championships and they didn't.
It takes the conversation to a whole new level.
Yes.
When you win, which is really the whole purpose, as PK is saying, of playing sports. That's why they have scoreboards. That's why they count.
But it's also the way that he won. He made his teammates better. He went through it. We watched it happen. Like that as an athlete
that's part
means
of
more
changing
than
the
anything. To
conversation,
me,
right?
that means more than anything.
If you want to compare Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, look at Tom Brady in Tampa Bay and look at Aaron Rodgers since he left Green Bay. Like one had success past New England, the other didn't have success past Green Bay.
Even that difference doesn't guarantee one's going to win a title and the other.
How you win
the other's
matters.
not.
How you win one matters to me.
And we tend to only hold certain people to this standard because they have to be the greatest of the great. And to your point, it doesn't apply to running backs.
Right.
It applies to quarterbacks.
Right.
It applies to NBA stars, and I think it applies to the greatest of the all-time
and that's
hockey
exactly
players.
why it's never going to be an apples-to-apples comparison.
Right.
It never will be.
All right, we'll leave it here. It's such an interesting discussion. We thank LeBron for bringing it up. Tyrese Halliburton and the Pacers are on the brink of elimination. It could go in a blink of an eye. Does India have a chance in Game 6 if he's not 100%? I'll get myself together.